um, thrilled with doing her top right away. So he said, let's just concentrate on her bottom because she's going to need a lot on her top. And so he didn't, so I don't remember. I think I only did I don't remember looking to see what she was actually approved for. We could probably pull up her finance
No
paper.
problem. No problem. No big deal. Um, no big deal. I was just curious, she got approved for 25 or 50 or 60 or whatever, but no problem. You guys did a good job on the call. Dr. Brand did really well too. So, guys, I want to play this video of a consultation. I think there's some things that were done well here that we can learn from, and then I think there's also some things that that we can do a little bit better of a job to streamline it even more, and I'll kind of get into some of that as well. Remember, guys, if you guys have any questions while I'm going through this stuff, just type the question in to the comments section, and then I can get to it. I can stop and go through it. But I want to kind of get through this. It's a shorter one, but it gives you an idea of the first 10, second 10, and third 10. So they actually got through the whole process in about 40 minutes from open to close, which is pretty good. So I'm just going to hit the highlights, and there's a couple key points in here that I want to spend some time on that I think you guys are going to get a lot of value out of. And then also keep in mind, moving forward, we're going to be doing the peer mentoring calls where I could break you guys up into smaller groups with Veronica, with Sarah. And what we're going to do is every time we have one of these calls every month, we're going to take one aspect of the call, and then we're going to create exercises, and we're going to drill them on the peer mentoring. So whether we're drilling, creating urgency or looping, overcoming objections, or whatever it is, I'm going to take something from one of the videos, some type of real life example that you guys are experiencing. And then we'll create drills and exercises off of that. And that's what we're going to be doing on the peer mentorship calls with Sarah and Veronica. So by the end of the call, I'll let you guys know exactly what that's going to be. So let's make sure that you guys have all that stuff on the schedule. So these webinars, if you miss one, you can go back and watch it, but the peer mentorship is a lot more interactive, where you want to have your camera on, and you guys want to be ready to participate, because there's not going to be as many people on those calls. It's just going to be smaller groups. So we're going to break you guys up into groups, so you're working with the same people every time. Okay. I'm going to get started. And by the way, this is from Dr. Brand's practice. This is Denise. So I understand, Denise, this is you guys had construction going on. Is that what this is? That's why it was a temporary thing kind of being here, because I could hear at first it was a little loud. I was like, why aren't they in the consultation room?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So that was a temporary thing that's been fixed since. So you hear a little bit of background noise, but nothing too distracting.
Up with all the construction we have going on here. So anyhow, we got to wait for your scan to come through. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what's going on, what your situation is?
I have 2 sets of dentures, uppers,
Okay,
and then one of them bed.
that's a story we've
I
heard
have-
many times.
2 partials, 2 different partials, don't bed.
On the lower?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have 9 teeth. 2 of them are very loose, and this one's bad. My last one over here on the right side is starting to come loose. And then real bad pain right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I need them out. I want the implant.
Okay.
I went to a place in Ohio
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years ago, and I wasn't quite to that point yet until I had to wear a denture.
Now you know I'm there.
And I'm like, I need the implant.
Right.
And then I called the insurance this morning, because I didn't know you all took insurance. And they said, with it being down here, it would be out of network, but they still cover half. So I said, yes.
Okay.
So,
And my
yeah,
husband agreed to pay the other half.
okay, so how, when they say they cover half, they cover up to what their yearly max is.
Oh,
So,
Okay, guys, first thing I just want to touch on, just as a reminder, when you start these consultations, does everybody have this form, your patient intake form? You don't have the patient intake form, I would encourage you guys to get it printed out. You print it out, put your logo at the top, and have the patients fill this out in the lobby before they come in to talk to you, because sometimes you can kind of jump right into it and you can miss some things that are really important, or you have to jump into it with a big generic open-ended question, something like, okay, so tell me what's going on. Right? I would prefer if we already knew kind of what was going on from the form, and instead of saying, okay, well, tell me what's going on, you could say something like, okay, look, so I understand that you've got a denture that's been giving you trouble, you got a partial that's been giving you trouble, and you're kind of looking for the next step, something a little bit more stable. Is that right? Okay, cool. Tell me a little bit more about that. And you guys can jump into it with some information, right? If you have no information, it could take you 10 minutes just to figure out why they're there exactly. So, some of the questions we ask here is what are your main dental concerns? What brings you in today? And that's going to give you kind of what their pain points are. How are these concerns impacting your life on a day-to-day basis? That's going to help with your urgency. That's going to cause them to reflect and help you guys create urgency. What are the most important factors or questions you want clarity on prior to making a decision to move forward? That's going to give you any of their limited beliefs. That's going to give you things to basically going to tip you guys off on what their objections may be. Are you the primary decision maker? That's obvious. And have you seen another doctor? Right? This is going to let you know if it's a second opinion. This doesn't take long for them to fill out, but make sure that you guys are giving this to them and then taking 2 or 3 minutes and reviewing it before they come back to see you so that you can lead. Does that make sense? One of the biggest things here in order to close and stay on task is your ability to pace and lead. It's very hard to pace and lead if you have no information. If you have no information, I can't ask specific questions. I have to ask big, open-ended, generic questions that could go in any type of direction. So we always want to try to start in order if we can. Anybody that doesn't have that form, just type it into the comments, and I'll have Veronica and Sarah send one out.
Tell me that.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't used any, so.
yeah, so we
This year,
would
so.
just have to find out what your max is usually but they said you had implant coverage?
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, that's nice.
Right.
So that's nice. So
Right.
they would at least cover what their max might be, 2,000, I don't know
Oh.
what, yeah, I don't know what your,
Oh, they said half or whatever it cost. They didn't tell me
Kind of video of someone.
just a certain amount.
yeah, most insurance companies have a max.
Okay.
And that's something we can find out for you,
Okay.
but in the meantime, we'll just pull up your scan, see what you have. Now what we want to do here is make sure you're a good candidate for implants. We check your bone density, the width and the height of it. So let's get you pulled up here. So you're wanting to just complete your lower, take out those teeth and put implants on the
Yeah, I
lower?
want both upper and lower.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
If I'm gonna do them, I'm gonna get it all
get
done.
it done. So there's different options. There's a snap-on.
Nope.
No, you know what you want. You know what you want.
I'm
So
on that. I want the
you want the
no
the
do
shebang.
nothing.
All right.
So did you guys hear that? She's like, so there's a couple different options here. There's the snap-ons, and she's like, no, I don't want that. So all of this would probably come out just when we're finding what her urgency is, when we're talking about her pain points, how's this affecting you on a day-to-day basis? That would have probably come out organically right off the bat that, hey, I had a bunch of problems. I've already been down the road to dentures, already went down the road to partials. I hate it. It's loose. It's affecting me in this way, and this way, and this way, blah, blah, blah. You know, so I don't want to keep repeating that. I want something that's going to be more stable. I think that would have come out, you know, organically right off the bat.
Okay, so let's talk about the bridge option. This is an option that goes in the mouth. It's screwed onto those implants. It does not come out. We obviously can take it out when we need to,
Right.
but it is in your mouth, and it's
So we're kind of going through this patient education portion. One thing that's good is she stopped her with the snap-ons. So she didn't keep going on that. She just went straight to fixed. But what we skipped here is we skipped all of the intel, right? So I don't know how it's affecting her life. I don't know what her driving motivation is right now. I don't know what's most important to her. What is she looking for? Is what's more important? Is she in pain? Is just getting out of pain the most important? Or is she unhappy with the way that she looks? Is it the way they look that's the most important? Is it being able to eat that? What's her driving motivation? I don't know yet. And also, but you know, why is she here right now? You guys remember that question from the script when you say, you know, right? And the script doesn't work if we go if it's super out of order. But that question that I really like to ask is like, hey, you know, you've been dealing with this. How long have you had the partial? And the denture, you've had this for what? Oh, I don't know, 8-10 years. Wow, that's a long time. So you've been dealing with for 10 years. Let me ask you, was it something specific that happened that kind of led you to call and come in today? I mean, what was it? Was there something that happened or something that you felt that you just said, that's it, I got to have a change? Was something specific? I'm interested. And you ask that question, right? That's all intel. What is the intel that I need to be able to close? What do I need? You know, it's if someone says, hey, I want this, that's fine. Sometimes they'll say, hey, I want fixed. I want all on four. This is exactly what I want. Boom, boom, boom. And sometimes they're a buyer and it's an easy one and they're going to come in. They've already done the research. They've got tons of urgency and it's no problem and they buy. Okay. Other times they might say that, but if they don't have a lot of urgency or they're moderately complacent, you know, and then you get all the way to the end and they say, okay, well, you know, kind of, all right, you know, let me think about it. That's a little bit more than I thought. Just kind of, let me think about this and get back to you. You don't have anything to anchor on, right? We don't have any ammunition. We don't have any intel. I don't know, like, how it's been affecting this person's life and how they value that. I don't know what they really want out of it. So when we just kind of skip through creating the vision and really targeting, isolating the pain point, then we don't know what their urgency is. So, and it's not a problem if they have a very, very high level of urgency and they've already made up their mind, then that's a buyer. A buyer is a buyer. But where you run into the issue is when the urgency level isn't that high. They look at the price and then, you know, they ask to think about it and we're not able to create the urgency or frame the treatment in a way that's going to be the most valuable or to create the most emotion with this person. So when we miss the emotional side, the process starts to become very transactional in nature, right? And when it becomes transactional and we lose the emotion, emotion is what creates urgency. So, you know, the logic's going to depend on what they buy, but the emotion is going to depend on when they buy, whether they move forward right now or they wait or they do it later or they don't do it at all. So it's a really, really, really important part of the process to make sure we know what their biggest pain points are, why they're here, what they want to change in the future, how it's affecting their life, and help them kind of, you know, empathize with them and understand where they're coming from, and then help them create a vision for how they're going to feel when they look at themselves, how they're going to feel when they don't have to worry about their teeth, when they're not in pain. Create that vision. It doesn't take long. You don't have to belabor the point there, but without that intel, if it's not a lay down close, you're going to have trouble with it, right? You're not going to really see the trouble until you get to the very end, and you're going to kind of be stuck. Right? Your options are going to be to kind of let them go think about it and try to follow up, or you're going to have to circle all the way back to the beginning when you're closing, and try to figure it out and then create urgency, because you're going to feel that, oh man, they're a little complacent, right? They're not super, super motivated to do this right now. And that's when you'll have more of the issues. So let's make sure before we go into the phase of educating on the actual procedures or answering any specific questions like that, that we let them talk about their current situation and their story, how they got to this point. That's what I want to know. If they tell me how they got to this point, then I'm going to be able to extrapolate a lot of really, really valuable information to be able to close this patient on treatment and influence them. If not, we're kind of just hoping that they're a buyer and this thing is a done deal already. And sometimes it will be.
Nothing will get up underneath.
What you do while you're healing, because you will be in a temporary for healing purposes.
Oh.
We like to keep someone in a temporary if we're extracting teeth.
Bump
We
ahead
like to
here,
keep them in. Not had teeth on your upper.
So they got the CT scan and we're waiting for Dr. Brand to get into the room. She was just kind of pulling it up here. We'll watch some of Dr. Brand's part. But the biggest takeaway with the very beginning, you know, what's a personality type of this patient? This patient's personality type, this patient has some energy and she has some certainty, right? She's got some certainty as far as what she wants. She's got some energy and she seems extremely open and she actually seems excited about being there, right? She seems excited about being there, which tells me that her urgency level is very high. I just want to know exactly what that is so that we understand what we're selling, you know, because we're always trying, we're trying to not sell a bridge. I don't want to sell implants. I don't want to sell a bridge. I want to sell a vision for something better in the future, or I want to sell the opposite of something that they are experiencing right now or have been experiencing for many years. That's what I'm selling, right? So those are the two things I have to be super, super clear on. But this lady was pretty nice to be able to engage with. Denise had no problem speaking with her.
Just going through so, but I had to,
She was really open.
they did already.
Oh, someone's not muted.
This audio.
It makes it a lot easier. We don't have to beat around the bush.
Right.
So here's my thing. I like to come in. I mean, it's nice to meet each other. And then I like to come in and just, from the doctor perspective, from the scientific perspective, are you a good candidate for what you want to do? Okay? And so let me summarize that for you. On the bottom, great.
Okay, so check this out, guys. So the first thing we run into, hey, I want to make sure that you're a good candidate for what you want. I think the problem here is that what she's saying is she wants fixed, right? She wants fixed, but that's not what she wants. What she wants is the outcome that she believes that fixed will give her. And that's what I want the doctors to be clear on before the doctors speak with the patient, right? I want them to be clear on what they want. So the doctor knows before they come in that, hey, this patient has had a lot of dental problems. This patient's been in a partial, this patient's been in a denture. You know, she's not happy with the way the denture looks. She's certainly not happy with the way the denture looks. She's completely opposed to it. All of that stuff is going on. What she wants is some way to be able to look better. She wants to be able to feel better. You know, here's the personality type. And I want them to have that kind of information before they come in. So it's not like, hey, I understand that you want fixed, all on for. No, it's, hey, I understand that you've been dealing with some trouble with the partial and with the denture and it's caused you some heartache here, right? Okay, well, don't worry. We're going to be able to get all that fixed. No problem at all. You know, you're going to look amazing. Let's go through and talk about this. And then we can kind of get into it. But again, that's what we're selling. Don't fall into the trap of selling implants and selling bridges. It's selling fixed or removable. That's just the product, but that's not what gets people excited about buying it, right? So always make sure the doctor's really prepared with that information before they come in and they know what we need to sell. and they know what the personality, what the urgency level of the patient is. That's going to help them right off the bat. Because believe me, if you don't, the whole thing is going to get transactional. The more transactional it becomes, the more the consumer mentality you're going to deal with. And we don't want that. We don't want them to be thinking in a transactional nature. I want them thinking in an emotional nature. I want them envisioning themselves so that the money just pales in comparison to how they're going to feel when this thing is done.
So on the top, I wouldn't say it's great. I would say that it's doable, but not great, okay? And so what I'm concerned with is, whereas on the bottom we can do, like, you know how we do the immediate teeth thing, where we place the implants and put the teeth in? I'm confident that you would be a really good candidate for that and that it would work out nicely. On the top, we're very, very skimpy on bone, okay? Now, it's not that I can't create some bone, it's not that I can't find some bone, but I think we have to have a different approach up top, okay? And it would be, I like to call it the delayed approach. It's where I want to go in and restore your sinuses to like when you were younger. So what happens is when we lose our back teeth, the sinuses grow, because they're like a big air pocket that's under pressure, and with nothing to stop them, they just keep growing. And so
I noticed when you put in my dentures that it hurts my sinuses.
well, I think the pressure on them when it's so close to where there's no bone, you probably do feel the pressure because it's such a thin area of bone before you actually communicate with your sinus, okay? So now, I am in the business of trying to make people happy, but I also am in the business of being realistic and telling the truth.
Right.
And so when it comes to your top, it'll definitely be,
Fast forward through this little.
so even if we come to this bone, this blue, get started on it, okay? You and Denise, I'll let you travel to do it. So if somebody told me, oh, I've got to have this thing loaded, like my bottom gets loaded as quick as I can, I'd say, well, listen, you got to travel then for zygomatic arch implants.
Okay.
Otherwise, we take the steady approach, the predictable approach of doing the sinus lifts and doing it that way, okay?
All right.
Otherwise,
I need something to do with these teeth down here right away.
well then, you know what? Let's get started on that, okay? You and Denise, I'll let you guys finish up with everything, but the fixed option will be fantastic for you. It'll get the bottom teeth back where they belong. If in the meantime we wanted or needed to make a new top denture to kind of get your smile where we all wanted it, then we can do that while we're working on the sinus lifts and things like that.
So she was saying she didn't, one set of dentures looked really small. The other set of dentures didn't fit real well. She wasn't happy with the aesthetics of each. But again, she's obviously got a huge level of urgency here to get it done. Because she just stopped Dr. Brand. She's like, no, I need to have something for these bottom teeth immediately. He says, okay, well, let's do it this way. So this lady's definitely a buyer.
Second pair in, but like I said, the teeth are so tiny on them.
Well, we want to start over. Yeah, we want to start over. And sometimes when you're missing tops, the bottoms grow up more. And when I say that, it sounds kind of weird, but they'll come up more and dominate the landscape. And what we want to do is we want to bring them back down, and we want your front teeth on the top to be the main players.
Right.
So when I smile, if you're going through the checkout line in Publix and you see the People magazine, the snap-in might be worse because
well, we're going to go with the bottom. My gums are a mess because I can't.
you can't, yeah. Well, we got to get you some teeth. We can do that.
Okay.
Let me turn you back over to Denise. Nice to meet you,
It's
okay?
nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming in, all right?
Thank you for your help.
All right, we'll see you soon then.
Okay.
Dr. Brand does a really good job of just relating to people and just being really down to earth and very personable, which I think helps create a lot of confidence with the patient. So he did a great job there.
Okay.
But now Denise is going to come back with those here.
So, questions?
Okay. Do I have any?
Do you have any?
Oh, we're gonna go with the bottom, and then we're gonna fix the top
Okay, all right.
with the nasal, with the, yeah.
The sinus
sinus.
lift,
Yeah.
right, yeah, so with,
So, Denise, I've got a question here. What is the primary treatment plan here, right? Because are we doing the bottom full arch fix on the bottom plus the sinus lift and the denture on top, or
No,
what?
we're just doing her lower right now, and then when she gets her lower settled, they're gonna make her a new denture. But the denture, she's still not gonna show any teeth on top until they do the sinus work, but she just wants to try a new denture, even though we know it's not gonna work.
Okay, but did we charge her for the new denture on top?
No, not yet, because he wants to do her lower first, and then he hasn't decided if we're gonna charge her for the denture or just make it until we really dive into doing her upper. He's very giving.
Are you going to do the upper, or are you going to send it out?
No, if she agrees to do all the sinus work and everything, then we're gonna do it. If she wants immediate, she'll have to do the zygomatic arch, which we'll have to send out. Yeah. So we'll see. She's scheduled tomorrow, I believe, for her lower surgery.
Okay. Only ask because it's always easier to make one sale than 2 or 3. So if she had the credit, in an ideal world, if we're like, hey, here's what needs to happen for the top, here's what needs to happen for the bottom, this is the treatment plan, here's the dollar amount. If she has the credit to cover it, in an ideal world, she just moves forward with the whole treatment plan, and then we just stage it out from there.
Yeah, and I totally get that. But I think we were in a position where he wasn't 100% sure how he was going to handle her upper. So I couldn't quote her for her upper because she was so intent on, I just want to do my lower right now. And then he's like, that's fine. Then concentrate on that and we'll come back to your upper. So that's what I did. I just concentrated on what her main thing was, because just doing a denture, charging her just for a denture, she's not going to get the results that she wants.
Yeah.
It's not, we weren't just going to charge her for something that's going to be the same thing she's had before.
Right. But let's say you sub out to financing, she gets approved for $60,000 and the lower's 22 or 23, whatever it was. It's not a bad idea also to just write the treatment plan up. She doesn't have to move forward with the rest, but you write the whole thing up and say, listen, you've gotten approved to cover the whole thing. Dr. Brand needs 5 days or 3 days or whatever to actually work up the specifics on how we're going to approach the upper, how much that's going to cost, a good solid timeline. But the good news is that you are approved for it. So all we have to do is draw on the credit, when we're ready. But as soon as we get the price and the timeline, we can go ahead and get you scheduled, and we'll just draw on the credit whenever you get scheduled for the sinus lift, because we don't want you waiting another 6 months just to get started on the upper. We understand you want to get this done, but just to put it in their head, try to get it as closed as possible so she knows, like, I don't want to have to sub out for financing again. You know what I mean? Because there's a chance that what if it doesn't get approved now?
Right.
So if you got her approved with the credit, try to set the stage, even if they haven't worked, because this will happen, guys. Sometimes if it's a bit more complicated, the doctors will just need a little bit of time to work up the case. But if they're approved for 50 or 60,000, we can tell them, hey, we're going to start on this. This is how much it's going to be. No problem. All the other stuff, by the time you come back in for your surgery or for your smile design appointment or whatever it is, we'll have basically a really, really good detailed idea of what the treatment plan is going to be, how much it's going to cost, and what the timeline is going to be. So we can kind of work, as parallel as we possibly can to get you both the upper and the lower in as short of amount of time as possible. But the good news is you do have the financing to cover both, so we can draw off of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll have to go back and check to see how much she was approved for, because I can't remember. I think it went through Proceed didn't do it, so it went to lending point, which
Mhm.
leads me to believe it was not a big approval amount. But I'll
Right.
check.
Okay,
But
cool.
yes, I definitely see your point, for sure.
Okay.
That we call it a delayed approach, which I'm sure he talked to you about. So we would do the sinus part. But in the meantime, we can start with your lower. So when we're doing the lower, what we're going to do is we're going to bring you in. They're going to scan the inside of your mouth. All right. That's when we want you to bring your upper. Okay. Bring both of them.
Okay.
They're going to need to scan some.
Denise, one more thing I'll say about this is let's make sure that before Dr. Brand leaves the room, there is a very clear primary treatment plan recommendation, right? Because what he said was that we're going to do the sinus lift and the denture, get you in the denture so that it looks better, and we're going to do the lower. That's actually what he said, like right before he got up. She didn't really get that or understand it. And then she said, hey, we're going to do the lower. And now we're like treatment planning the lower. So let's just make sure 100%, like we're very clear on, okay, so are you recommending that we only do the lower, or are we doing the lower plus the denture and the sinus lift for the upper? And we're just going to work out the implants later. What exactly is this treatment plan? And just to be super clear on what that is. Because he kind of said something different than you did right here.
Okay, yeah.
I think I'm going to rewind it just to make sure I didn't hear that wrong.
Pocket to get a second set done because of the insurance wouldn't pay for another
Gotcha.
set right away. And so, like I said, they fit for a couple of weeks.
Right. And then no more.
No more.
Okay. Well, some people just need something that stays in by being screwed in.
Right.
You got the security.
Right.
If you can get the security with the looks, not to mention how much better you can eat.
So
with
even
something.
the snap-in wouldn't work in the top because there's not enough.
Yeah, the snap-in might be worse because the ability, stability with eating, and so. Yeah. Well, we got to get you some teeth. We can do that.
Okay.
Let me turn you back over to Denise. Nice to meet you. Provide a level of support with each implant helping the other implant.
Okay.
So it's not a bad idea to have the screwed in for your particular situation. And that's certainly the way I would go if you can swing it, because you're going to get the best of all worlds with security, with stability, with eating. And so
I want to eat some fruit and vegetables. My gums are a mess because I can't.
you can't, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got to get you some teeth. We can do that.
Okay.
Let me turn you back over to Denise. Nice to meet you.
Hey,
Okay.
nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming in, all right?
Thank you for your help.
All right, we'll see you soon then.
Okay.
He must have said it right
Okay.
before that.
Come out, implants go in.
How soon?
Um,
Listen to me, how soon?
it's
My mouth hurts so bad.
it's probably it's gonna probably be. I have two doctors here. We have Dr. Brain, who you just met, Dr. Rustemeyer, who's you've probably seen him running around. Not the electrician.
When I get to the price part.
I'm gonna start off with a temporary. Your
Okay.
temporary is finance it, and then when we actually your warranty, if anything goes bad, we're gonna stand behind it. They may make you another one in between, depending on how much healing you do. If it gets really bad and you're really getting stuff, sometimes they like to make another temporary in between there.
Okay.
So you probably want to know about the price now. I'm just talking about the lower. I'm just talking about the lower right. So we do have our own lab here, and because we have our own lab here, this fee is not what it is. These fees that you have, we don't have to. Luckily, we are able to take down a lot because we're not sending stuff out
Right.
to a lab, and I don't even have a pen anywhere here, do I?
I got a pen. Oh, you got one? Okay.
So
So guys, she's using her implant bundle form right here and showing it to her. So the one with the higher retail fee on it. So that's what she's showing right now.
for a single arch with your zirconium, and it includes everything. the extractions, the implants. We have a 5-year warranty. If anything goes bad, we're going to stand behind it. We're going to take care of any issues at all. Okay, so that is all that included. There's that. For double arch, it's $44,000.
Okay.
Yours would be a single, so if we're starting with just the lower, it's 22.
Okay.
All right, and it includes everything that you see here. But again, we don't have to charge you that much. We can take it down to
Okay.
this month.
Denise, you can sell this a little bit more, because we don't want to show it to her and immediately like take it all away. What I want to do, what we're trying to do with the retail fee is explain that there's a lot of work that's going to go into this, and you guys aren't going to cut any corners. You're not going to cut any corners. It's not going to be a bait and switch where you're going to pay for this, and the next time you got to pay for that, and then the next time you're going to pay for that. It's like, this is what it is. We don't cut any corners, and you're going to be done. There's no more out-of-pocket expense after this, right? So in order to do this and get a really good result, this is everything that's going to be involved. Now, the average fee for something like this, Doctors in the Area, is going to be anywhere from, $28,000 to $35,000 if all of this stuff is included, right? Which is right around where we are. But because we have a lab and we're able to actually save on expenses because we're not sending that out, there's a lot of things that would normally be expenses to other practices that actually aren't to us. And we go ahead and pass those savings on to you. So even though the value and how much this case normally costs is this, whatever's on that paper, is $35,000 per arch, let me show you what we can actually get this number down to because we have an in-house lab and because we do so many of these types of cases, right? So this you don't have to pay for, this you don't pay for, this you don't pay for. You start crossing it off. So basically 35 turns into more like 22 for your lower arch, which means we're doing everything. That's with everything involved. And we're still below the average of what people just charge for just the all-on-4. And most of them don't offer warranties. Most of them don't offer sedation. Most of them don't offer all of the things that we're offering you. So it actually turns into a pretty significant discount for you. Does that make sense? Right? So we want to sell it. And I know it's kind of nerve-wracking. You don't want to like show them the pricing, then get sticker shock. But it's part of the psychology. I want to justify the price and also put some doubt in her head that, oh, well, maybe those lower fees aren't actually including everything. I never thought about that. So they show me a low fee, but then next visit, it's going to be actually more. Those are the seeds I'm planting by showing retail versus wholesale, right? So you want to present it with some strength. If you present retail and we immediately tell them like, all right, here's what it is, but this fee is not real. This is not a real fee. Don't worry. We kind of lose a little bit of it. So present it and then explain that it includes everything. They're not going to be charged more on their next visit. This takes care of them for a full year or 5 years or whatever it is. And there's no corners are cut. And also the average fee for something like this is going to be anywhere, for zirconia, it's going to be 27 to 35. That's the average. So we're actually wind up, $5,000 below the average, and we include more. So it turns into a very, very substantial savings in terms of cost savings for you, which is a good thing. Does that make sense? That's something that we're going to be working on as well. It's just presenting the close, and selling that with confidence.
And then we'll find out how much
And then-
insurance will pay.
What we do is we have financing options. So you can finance it, and then when we actually do the procedure, we send it into your insurance, and whatever they pay goes directly to you. You can take that amount that they pay and you can pay it towards your financing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's no.
The other thing is we don't want to try not to run the financing before we're given a reason, right? So the close is always the same. We go through retail versus wholesale. So, it ends up being really good cost savings. So your price is basically $22,000 all in, and that includes the 5-year warranty. And that's it. She goes, okay, and then we'll find out how much insurance is going to pay, and it's like, well, we're going to max out whatever your insurance will pay. Who's your insurance? Oh, it's Delta. Okay, well, we work with those guys all the time. Whatever they pay, we'll try to get the maximum amount, and then they're just going to reimburse you. they're just going to cut the check straight to you. It might be $2,000, it might be $3,000, it might be $3,500, whatever the max is. That's what we're going to work to get for you. But that check will go straight from them to you, right? Just to reimburse you directly. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, great. So how'd you like to pay for that? Like, we always have to ask them how you want to pay for it first. Give them the opportunity to give you a credit card or write a check or say, you know, I've been saving for it, so I have the money. I can write you a check or give you a credit card, or I can wire the money or whatever it is. But go ahead and close and just ask them, how would you like to pay for that? Right? If there is a problem with paying for it in full right now, which is basically what we're expecting. It's an assumptive style close. I don't want to create an objection. I don't want to create a need for financing if there is no need for financing. Does that make sense? You guys have to pay financing fees, they pay interest, and we kind of run the risk of if they decline, now what, right? So if we present it like, well, the first thing we do is get you financed, then they're going to feel, even if they have the money, they're going to feel like they should just try for the financing. So go ahead and just close on the 22. And if there is a financial objection, we can fall back to financing, right? Or we can fall back to scaling in a different way to kind of reduce the principal. But always close on the full dollar amount. Assume they're going to write you a check or give you a credit card. Most times they won't, but they never will do that if we don't give them the opportunity to do it, right? And that's obviously ideal.
Prepayment penalty with the financing.
Oh, good. Okay.
It all takes care of itself. Would you like to look into the financing? It's a soft.
Yeah, but the thing is, my husband would be the one. I don't have any income. He would be the one that would have to get the financing. So I don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, he's in Ohio, so I don't know how we can.
All I really need from him is his social security number.
I wrote that down.
And the amount of money that he makes.
It makes between 60 and 80 a year. It depends on, because he gets social security.
Guys, we just got a question from Rachel. She said, what if we know going into the appointment that they need financing? If you know that they need financing going into the appointment, then I'm assuming that we already have them approved, right? So if they're telling you I need financing, then I'm getting them approved before I see them, right? Because if the whole thing is contingent on financing, why am I going to bring them in if they're declined? So if they tell you that over the phone, collect the information and go ahead and get the approval so that you know that this person is qualified to actually make a purchase. Does that make sense? Because they're giving you a financial objection right off the bat saying, look, I want to do it. I need it. I'm down to do it, but I have got to get a loan for this. I do not have the money. So there's no reason doing a consultation if they're declined, right? So if that happens and they're upfront about needing financing, then we're into the triage mode where, okay, well, let's go ahead, see what you get approved for. And then I'm just take Social Security, get their information, run them, and make sure that they're approved. This person never gave us a financial objection, right? That's why, like, she never said a word about, well, how much is it going to cost? Is it this? Is it that? The closest she came was that she didn't know what percentage insurance would cover. That's the closest she came to a financial objection, which is kind of a little signal that there may be an issue, but it's not as blatant as someone saying, look, I don't have the money for this. I've got to get financing, right? Or someone saying, look, how much is this before we go any further, just so I'm not wasting your time. I don't have a whole lot of money. You know, those are very clear triage cases. This one, I mean, she's not acting like the money is an issue. She's not. I mean, this whole time they've been talking about it, she never asked once how much it costs. She's not acting like it's a huge issue for her.
And then his income.
Would you say he has a pretty decent credit score?
Yes.
Well,
we just bought a house, so it went down a little bit.
It does. It takes a hit. I know. I refinanced and my credit hits. It's like, whoa.
But it's close to 700, so.
Okay, well, if you want, it's a soft hit. If you have all his information, we can pull it up. We
Okay.
can see what he's approved for.
He said do it. So.
Okay, and then I'll just let you have that.
Okay, quick example of assumptive close, right? Wouldn't say, okay, well, if you want, we can do this or that. It's never if you want. It's all, okay, so let's do this. Do you have his social security handy? Do you have the information? If you have the information, I'll just run it right now and get you going. Sound good? Cool, let's do it. All right, so what is this? Boom, 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 boom. There's no like, do you want to do this or any of that? So everything is just assuming, like we want to go into it assuming that she has the information to do the credit check. We want to assume that she's moving forward, assume all of these different things. Try not to ask for permission. It's much better to just kind of assume that it's going to happen. Let them tell you no.
And then we go from there. It gives you different payment options.
Fast forward through this
All right.
part.
Okay. It could be credit score, debt to income. So the interest rate is pretty high. And then that would be the payment for 6 years, 60 months.
We have to go 6 years, so.
I'm sorry.
Or
is that-
60 months,
Yeah, 5 years.
okay,
And that would be the payment.
okay.
There's no prepayment penalty, so
Okay.
if ever you get a chunk of money, whatever,
I would probably refrain from saying the interest rate's pretty high. You know, I would kind of let them put that together, right? If it's me, I'm going to say, hey, congratulations, we got you approved. Everything's good, right? Here's your monthly payment. We can spread it out over 60 months to make it easy. And that's it. You're done. We can get you scheduled. Bam. It's like, forget all that stuff. Maybe she thinks it's high. Maybe she doesn't. If she thinks it's super high, she's going to say something. If not, I'm not going to plant that though, right? We don't want to create an objection that doesn't exist. Makes sense? Because it's better, better high interest rate than no loan, right? Especially for this lady sounds like desperate to get this done. She's got a very high level of urgency here. So I would just kind of breeze over that. Here's the interest rate, but here's the most important thing. You can spread it out over 60 months and here's what your payment's going to be. And we can get this thing scheduled, in the next 2 weeks, get you started, get this thing done and finish it up.
put it towards it to cut that interest down.
Right.
Definitely.
Okay,
So I'm sure you need to talk to him before, it's,
no, I don't.
oh, all right. So you want,
He told me last night, I talked to him last night. I said, I'm going. He said, do what you need to do.
and is that a payment that you're comfortable with? That
Yeah,
You're good with that?
Yeah.
You want
Okay, so hold on.
to do it?
yes,
All right.
I want to get her done.
So a couple things right there to unpack.
Um,
No, I don't.
oh, all right. So you want,
He told
yeah, 5 years.
Okay,
And that would be the payment.
okay,
There's no prepayment penalty, so
Okay.
if ever you get a chunk of money, whatever, I would put it towards it to cut
Okay.
that interest
Right.
down. Definitely.
okay.
So Denise, you got to get your fangs out here, right? You got somebody with urgency and you got an approval. I don't know how much it was for, but clearly it was over 22,000, right? So you got an approval and you got urgency. Like this is a wounded gazelle.
I have to defend myself a little bit.
We got to get her.
Well, because it wasn't in her name, it was in her husband's name, and I didn't have him there.
Right.
I was told when we're doing financing that you have to give them 48 hours or something to change their mind. And I wanted to make sure she was 100% sure that he was cool with it before I did anything. And I didn't have him sitting there, so I had to reconfirm, do you need to talk to him? I wanted her to tell me that, no, I'm good, I can go. So I was a little bit, okay, he's not here. I don't have him telling me it's okay.
He's going to have to sign the docs though.
Yeah.
So there's no way that she can just do it unless she literally forged his signature, which obviously is not going to happen. So no matter what, the docs have to go to him. He has to sign the docs for that loan to go through. So the docs are going to go to him. It's all kind of how you ask. You can, everything you just said, we can do it in an assumptive way. What I would be careful about is like placing doubt. I can say this a couple different ways. If I say, look, you know, if you say something like, hey, you know, this is like, are you sure that it's okay with your husband? Right? Are you sure that it's okay with your husband? You can say it in that way where it's like, hey, I'm saying basically like, this might not be okay. This is his credit. You should probably check with him first. Or you can say it in a way like, okay, well, I mean, you've already spoken with your husband. You guys are on the same page about this. So what I can do is go ahead and get you scheduled, start moving the process forward. They're going to send the documents straight to your husband. It's important that he reads the documents and signs the documents since the loan is under his name. So you can kind of review the details with him. But as far as we're concerned, I'll start the process and get everything rolling for you. Does that make sense? Does that sound fair? You know what I mean? So I'm saying the same thing, which is basically like, we want to make sure that he knows everything that's going on, that he's signing the documents. But what I'm doing is I'm assuming that they're on the same page and she has his permission. I'm acting like, of course he approves. Like, of course that he wants this for you. I'm going to make her stop and tell me, well, I'm not sure he's going to be okay with this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I mean about, right? We got an approval, you got the urgency. We don't want to create a problem. I want to let her bring the problem to me. I'm assuming there's no problem. Zero.
That's okay, dear.
Gotcha.
So I'm sure you need to talk to him before, I mean, it's,
No, I don't.
oh, all right. So you want,
He told me last night, I talked to him last night. I said, I'm going. He said, do what you need to do.
and is that a payment that you're comfortable with? That
Yeah,
You're good with that?
Yeah.
You want to do it?
yes.
All right.
I want to get her done.
Right. So is that a payment you're comfortable with? Do you want to do it? Again, it could get someone thinking like, I don't know, could I get a lower payment? You get them thinking about the payment, right? I'm telling them the payment's great because you can spread it out over 60 months. A lot of the different financing is only going to be for 12 months, maybe 24. So you're actually approved for 60. So it's a lot lower than it would normally be with other financing companies. So this is great. So the payment's good. The payment's low. We can get you scheduled. Everything's ready to go. So I'll get you started with everything. Cool. Sound good? Let's do it. You know, and I'm just assuming the whole thing straight through. So you want to be as strong as possible there. I don't want to plant any seed that could turn into doubt that didn't previously exist. As a matter of fact, I want to do the exact opposite, which is I want to project my confidence and my explanation of basically, hey, you're doing the right thing. Everything's totally normal. There's nothing to worry about here. It's all good. Right along the way. And they'll follow you right along the way. So I think that's something, Denise, where you did everything good. I mean, you got her closed. It's just a tonality thing. Had you been dealing with somebody that didn't have as high of a sense of urgency, it's very easy when you ask someone, hey, is this payment okay, for them to go, you know, that's a good question. I should probably talk to my husband about that because we did just buy a house. So we're a little tight. I need to just make sure that that payment's something that we can do. Let me talk to him and get back to you. Like that could completely happen. You know, that's a very realistic situation that you want to try not to open the door. I don't want to open the door for any of that, especially because she just told me they just bought a house. So I'm already thinking like, oh man, you know, am I going to be able to get this person approved? They just bought a house, so they're going to be tighter on finances, or they could be tighter on finances. So I'm making a big deal out of the 60-month thing. I'm making a big deal out of the 60 months. I'm making a big deal that the payment's low and that this is easy and I can get her going right now. And there's nothing in our way. There's no delays, nothing at all. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Is everyone muted?
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, I'm gonna unmute you real quick so that we can have 5 minutes real quick of some question and answers. Just to let you know, what we're gonna be practicing on the peer mentoring is assuming the sale, because these things happen even when we're in the class or we're at a course, we're at a boot camp or something. A lot of times we go through and we're doing closes and we're doing improv. We'll be like, okay, so do you want to do it? Or okay, so is this payment okay? Is this price okay? We're asking for permission instead of assuming the sale. So we're going to be practicing that, assuming the sale, and just the how to deliver that and kind of stay away from opening doors that could complicate or slow the sale down. So did you guys have any specific questions? I think we learned a lot in the first 10, really good information. We learned a lot in the middle part with Dr. Brand and in the close. Thank you for using the form, using the bundle. That was good. She liked the discount on it. So a lot of good things happened and you got her closed. So that at the end of the day, that's the bottom line, is you closed her for 22,000 right here, pretty much on the spot, which was great. Did you guys have any specific questions you want to ask or review?
I do. Bart.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. What's up?
Great. So the patient intake form, because I was late getting on. I was with the patient. That patient intake form, when do y'all want us to do that?
When the patient's in the lobby. So the patient's lobby, they fill out the new patient paperwork.
Right.
And as soon as they turn that in, hand them the new patient intake form. Don't give it to them with the new patient paperwork, because they're just that new patient paperwork, they're just filling it out as fast as they can. I want to give that to them separate. So take the new patient intake paperwork and then give them the patient intake form. They'll fill that out, turn it in, give it to the treatment coordinator. She can review that for 3 minutes, before they come in, and that will help understand what the pain point is, what they're there for, what their urgency level is, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
I had a question for you, Bart.
Yes, sir.
Right here. So our doctor, Maximo, he wanted us to, like, when we start, first we get the symptoms of what they're going through, any kind of research they've done, where they're at this point, whether they're in any kind of prosthetic or had any opinions. We're getting, if it's important to them, some people it's not, is like their vision or their smile. That he when we're going through the models, like he wants us to say the price. And I've just been saying things like base model, this is the more premium model. And then I've said that if they still didn't ask anything yet, as far as like, well, how much could this possibly be? If they're not trying to like give ballpark signals, then the next thing I say, in the script is that, we'll see just a script that, we'll see the 3D models, we'll see the options that are possible, and that they would talk to me about the obvious things. And I say, price of the option that you pick and all the logistics. And then if they're still not saying anything, then, the script says just let them go on. But like Dr. Maximo wants us to say what it takes, like when we start presenting, well, it starts just showing just, the bait, like the overdenture, the hybrid, and to say that like, this is what it is, if they're not giving buying signals. What is your thoughts about that?
Well, there's a huge the buying signals that they're there in your office, right? I mean, that's like, why are they there? So everybody's a buyer. It's just, the question is, are they qualified to buy, right? That's the main thing we're trying to figure out. That's probably what Dr. Maximo's looking at, is like, hey, we're getting patients through and then they can't get financed. They don't have any money, and we're trying to save time there, which I totally get. But I wouldn't put any of that ahead of the importance of finding out what we need to, what are we trying to sell, and what's his patients, what's their main concern, why are they here, and what's their urgency level, right? What's their urgency level? What is it that we're really selling? You can't sell the implants. You can, but you're going to constantly be in a price war doing that. And it's always going to be all about price. It's going to be very transactional, and you're going to lose all the urgency and emotion, right? It's like somebody coming onto a car lot, and let's say they're selling you know, you've got your choice of Mercedes, you got your choice of Toyota, Prius, you got a Hyundai, and you got a Rolls Royce, and you can sell any of these things, right? They're all different price points. What are you going to do when someone walks on the lot? Are you going to tell them, all right, now look, these cars started this much, these cars started this much, these cars started this much, these cars started this much? Or are we going to
build
ask
the
them,
value.
hey, what type of car are you looking for? What's most important to you? Is it comfort? Is it technology? Is it performance? Give me an idea of the type of experience you want to have when driving a car so that I know and I can kind of match you up with the car that best suits what you're looking for. Like, which one is more important, to give them what they want or to give them the prices? Even if they buy something, if it's not what they want, it can never be cheap enough. So we always have to start there. If the patients where price is a huge issue, usually they're going to tip you off.
Yeah.
Usually, right? This patient never said anything in this example. So to me, I wouldn't be hitting her with all kinds of price on all fours. She said she didn't want snap-ins, you know. Had the first 10 gone a little bit different, you might have got a little bit more information. But with somebody like this, she's obviously got a very high sense of urgency. I think that you just need to be careful with rattling off prices before you're asked and before there's been a recommendation. You know, I think you just have to be careful. It can come off the wrong way. It can come off presumptuous, depending on how it's done, right? Like if I'm in somewhere and they're like, all right, now, sir, like you understand, even the base model for this type of a car is $90,000. And I'm like, well, you think I don't have 90 grand? You know what I mean? Like, okay, so what? Like, we haven't even decided what car I want yet. Why are you throwing feet at me?
Yeah,
So
because
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because there's been some where it's like, you know, they already had traditional prosthetics and they just really didn't like the feel of them. They, you know, were tired of them being loose and everything like that. And then, you know, when you're showing the models that they're like, you know, they really like the idea of, you know, the hybrid essentially, that they didn't have to take it out, those kind of things. And then it's just like later on, then we find out that it's like, well, you know, $200 is like all they could really do per month because of their financial situation. It's like you can't always find that out till after the fact. I mean, they never seem upset. It's just, you know, they just had no indication what it was really going to take. So I see the point, you know, there.
If you go through the process, if you guys don't skip steps, if you really go through it, it's going to be so hard for somebody to sit there. You found out their primary desired outcome. You know what their urgency level is. You got them, right? You're here. Then you go into the patient education. You go through denture. You go through removable, and you go through fixed. If they get through all of those explanations and they never ask anything about, well, give me an idea of like, what's the difference in price between this versus that, right? Or they don't come out and actually tell you that they've already had a treatment plan created. You know, a lot of times they already know what the ballpark pricing is, right? But again, you might find that out just with the new patient intake form. So it's tough for someone to get all the way through that, not mention anything about they've already had a treatment plan done, not mention their level of awareness in terms of price, and not ask any question when price is a real issue. It's tough. You know, but if we're not pacing and leading, what can happen super easy is the patient starts pacing and leading, and what they do is they skip you from intro to close immediately. And we basically just skipped everything, and they're kind of pacing and leading us, and then we kind of get to the end. So it's just important for us to pace and lead and make sure that we're asking questions that are kind of leading them down the right path. And I would be careful about making generalizations and saying, hey, every time we go through patient education, I'm going to give them the pricing, because the doctor hasn't seen them and we haven't made a recommendation yet. We haven't done a CT yet. There's been no diagnostics. The only time I'm given a price is if they cue me in to tell me that they need to be triaged.
Yeah, because we've had some that have queued in and then we're able to like narrow down really what they wanted to, you know, the range that they'd be comfortable talking about. And then they have one, you know, forward on some of them. But then there's only been like two. I mean, we haven't been doing it long, but there has been two where, you know, I see on the selection, they're selecting $150, $200 a month. And then but based on the things that we end up talking about, they like really want to talk about this hybrid model. And it's like, you know, granted, I mean, they could have just pick that. They could have the cash for it, or they could get, I know if they get financed for 50,000, I mean, the lowest payment they're going to get with proceed is like $900 a month for 8 years. So it's like, if you're selecting that, like, are we wasting time, talking about things that are really just out of your range, I guess? Or can I ask a question, like, what kind of research have you done up to this point? Like, have you read the email that was sent to you?
Right.
A lot of those people are saying, no to both.
Right. Which is okay. Just kind of go through the normal process. And if they're like, man, I have to make sure that I can afford this. Like, how much is it all? Then go straight into the triage script. Triage them. Triage them aggressively. Just don't triage somebody where price isn't their biggest thing.
Okay.
Their biggest thing might be, hey, I've been to 3 different doctors and they all told me that I'm not a candidate for implants. I don't give a damn what it costs. I'm ready. But this, for instance, I don't know. This could have been one of her main concerns, is that the other doctors wouldn't even do the case because of the lack of bone. I just don't know. But I wouldn't want to take somebody like that if money's not the issue and all of a sudden I'm the one making money the issue now.
Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
A couple will slip through, but don't worry about it. Anybody else have anything specific that you want to ask in regards to questions on the first or the second or the third 10 here?
Good.
You're good. Okay, cool. Then make sure, if you're not using the patient intake form, please use it. It's silly not to use it. You're going to get that information ahead of time and you're already going to know so much. And because it's a form that has to be filled out, it dictates that the patient be succinct, right? Because they're not going to just write forever. So they're going to kind of get to the point on the form. And then you guys, as soon as you sit down, you're in the process, you have background data and you can just roll. And don't move forward into the patient education phase before you know what's their level of urgency. If they have a moderate or a low level of urgency, what do you have to do? You have to raise it. That urgency level's got to come up. So we have to figure out some way to disturb their complacency, to get them more motivated, where doing nothing is just not an option that makes sense for them. So we either do that with pain or we do that by painting a really compelling vision of pleasure for the future, either one. But one of those things has to happen if you're lacking urgency or you get the feeling that that particular person is a little bit complacent. And then as far as a close on the retail fee. Like, give them that retail fee, like, this is what you're going to pay, and explain to them what it is. Explain to them that it's all inclusive, that it's not like you're going to come in and pay one thing and then every visit you're going to be hit for other fees. Explain to them that you stand behind your work, and then show them that, and it kind of explain the story of, how you're going to extend some cost savings onto them. Always assume the sale. That's what we're going to be working on the next calls. You guys are already scheduled for those. Please try to make sure that you're on them, because that's where we can be a little bit more interactive in terms of the exercises, where we're practicing more like the boot camp. So that should help a lot. And again, make sure that you guys are recording your consultations. Denise, great job on getting this particular patient closed. 22K. Whoop, whoop. Got him. So good job there. And then anything you need, let us know, but make sure you guys are recording consultations and sending them over. And then we'll see you guys on the monthly call. Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, girls.
Thank you, Bart. Bye.
Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, is this a 1 of 10 videos, did he say?
I don't know.